Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special Dharma talk. Today, we are really excited to welcome Zen Master Hyang, Bobby Rhodes. She is the school Zen Master of the Quantum School of Zen. She received Dharma transmission from Zen Master Seong on October 10th, 1992. She was one of his first American students and studied with him beginning in 1972 and was given Inca in 1977. She was a registered nurse, and I believe she is currently retired. She actually helped found Providence Zen Center and lived here for 17 years, serving in a number of administrative capacities. She has a daughter and lives with her partner Mary in California. And the opening talk today will be given by Senior Dharma teacher Gary Belanger, who has been studying Zen since 9/11. And he works as an electrical engineer. He can also fix anything, I am told. And you will see him you will see him here almost every Sunday and Wednesday if you are at practice. So welcome.
Yeah, I can fix anything and I can break anything. Mostly precepts, but anyway. That's a whole nother story. As usual, I had a hard time coming up with a topic, but I always try to think of what's going on in my life at the moment and try to tailor it around that, so that way it's in context. The three big things right now are regret, Kongan practice, and artificial intelligence. And I'll just go through the regret real quick. It's something I just regret things. So the most recent thing I regret was about a month ago, a group of students from Babson College came here with their teacher. I gave them instructions on how to meditate upstairs. The meditation instruction went really well. I thought everyone was getting it and all that stuff. And then in the Dharma room, that clearly became not the case. Fidgeting, there was three guys, they were just nonstop fidgeting. They were having their arms in their hand, they were looking up at the ceiling, down at the watch, clocks, I assume, their phones and stuff. And I was in prime spot to watch it all, so I just got madder and madder and madder. And that's the bad thing. So for the second sitting period, I pulled them aside and I just says, you guys aren't getting anything out of this. So there's really no reason for you to stay for the second sitting period. So they left. And I've regretted it ever since. I really handled it the wrong way. I should have never said that. I actually unintentionally asked the teacher to leave too because she was standing with them and I thought they were a group and blah, blah, blah. It's a big, long story. But the bottom line is I did something that I really, really regret. So if there's any Babson students out there, I'd like to have your email so I can formally apologize to the teacher in particular. I've been trying to search her down, but so far no luck. But that whole concept of regret seems to be just something I think a lot about. I regret doing things in the past. And ironically, some of the things I regret doing in the past aren't really bad. They're almost good. Two examples of that real quick. It was... I ride a recumbent bicycle, the laying down kind of bicycles. I was riding one day on the bike trail, and I got off the bike, and I'm having some snacks, and this guy pulled up, got off his bike, and he stared at my recumbent 5 minutes straight. Every single inch of the bike, and this one was made by hand built in Eugene, Oregon. It's a Burley, and it's a big sticker that says handcrafted in Eugene, Oregon, a little American flag and all that stuff. But he looked at it. And I went over and he started asking questions. He was genuinely interested. And at the time, I have 4 other recumbents, so I was thinking of selling that one. It's heavy, but it's comfortable, it's heavy, blah, 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 blah. And he asked how much it was. And I said, well, for $600, that's what I'm kind of looking for. And, you could tell he couldn't afford the $600. And to kind of make a long story short, I've regretted ever since that day of not just giving him the bike. Every time I see it in my garage, I'm like, I should have gave him the bike. Here is a person that would have appreciated it. I didn't need the $600, but you could tell he would have appreciated it. He would have kept it garaged and clean and lubricated. He would have taken care of it. And at the time, or even so now, that's more important to me than the money. I just wanted it to have a happy home. I seem to have a better relationship with inanimate objects than I do with people. The other one, real quick, before I get on to the good stuff, was I was in CVS one day and I was walking down the corridor and there was these two girls kind of moving through the aisles but quickly. And the girl in front was going, I'm so pretty, 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 saying, kind of acting like a teenager. I'm so pretty. And the girl behind just walking with her, just like, I'm with her. But anyway, she turns the corner and the girl goes, do you think I'm pretty? And I said, yes, I do. And I kept walking. And then after the fact, I'm like, what I should have said, yes, you both are. So I regret not saying, yes, you both are. But as an interesting side note to that story, I told that story to my in-laws at the restaurant. They own a restaurant. We're sitting at the table. I told them a story. I said, and the girl came down. She says, I'm so pretty. Do you think I'm pretty? And I'm like, let's see if my in-laws know Gary. What's this? What do you think I responded with? Well, I regret asking that question because I'm like, you really think I would call a teenage girl a skag bag I'm like, it was like, what the heck I regret not saying it, both of them, regret asking the question, what would I say? So I kind of said, this whole regret thing, it's got to be a Buddhist teaching somewhere, So let me use ChatGPT and find the explicit mention of it. And it turns out Buddhists love to count things. So it's got to be in there. So you got the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the six paramitas, the 3 marks of existence, the 4 great vows, the 12 links of dependent origination, the 5 aggregate sanghas, 6 base senses, 7 factors of enlightenment, 10 fetters. Our precepts, we have 5 precepts, 10 precepts, 15 precepts. If you're a nun, there's like 5,000 precepts. Maybe not that many, but a lot. And my favorite, the 3 jewels, Dharma, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. But regret's not in any of them directly. So I thought that would be something I could talk to Bobby about if there's no questions. I'm kind of like, gee, I think we should add regret into one of them somewhere. But by looking into it, I indirectly realized regret is basically not being in the moment, holding on to an idea, holding on to something and stuff. So I'm learning from that. That's one of the things our teachings tell us is that, notice it, look at it, examine it. Don't hold on to it. Put it down and just be in the moment. So that's kind of where my regret topic comes in. The second topic was Kongan practice. I've never really been good at Kongan practice. I don't really like Kongan practice. I do, however, realize that it's part of our practice. If you come here on Sunday or on Wednesday night and you just want to sit for 2 sessions and leave, that's great. That's awesome. But if you become more and more serious in Zen practice, then you start doing the extra things. You start doing Kongan practice with a teacher. You start doing bows. You start doing chanting. You start coming to sangha events and stuff like that. And I think I'm pretty good at all of those with the exception of Kongan practice. And it came to my realization in 2 ways. One way was with David about a week or 2 ago when he said, I think you said it to somebody, that Gary, how long have you been working on your Kongan? And I said, 10 years. And I'm like, gee, that person he mentioned that to, and I don't even know who it was, might get the impression that they're torture, they're really, really hard, etc. But the fact of the matter is, in 10 years, I probably only went to 3 Kongan interviews. So that's why I am working on a Kongan for 10 years. I went to Nancy, nope. she didn't give me the answer. I went to Dennis, nope, she didn't give me the answer. I went to Jose, nope, he didn't give me the answer. I went to, and I'm not sure if I would put Dennis in there. But the bottom line is, I've come to the conclusion that as part of this practice, Kongan interviews are important. And who better than Bobby, because she's like the queen of Kongan. She loves them. She teaches them. She, all in her reading, in her books and stuff, which she has a book here available in our bookstore that she wrote. And it has a lot of really good information in there on Kongan interviews. It also is by reading teachers' material versus teachings, you kind of personalize it. You start, now certain things aren't Zen Master Sun Song's teaching. They're Bobby's teaching that she learned from Zen Master Sun Song. So, I'm getting more and more attached to the sangha aspect of it versus just the hard, just the quoted, instead of the quoted things. Why do I stay away from Kongan practice? Well, in the past, I plan on changing that in the future. I think it really boils down to the fact that I have enough things in my life that make me feel stupid. I don't need another one. I have a job, an awesome job, that 10 times a day I'm like, shit, I should have done that. So I just didn't need another thing to make me feel stupid. I got plenty of those already. But the bottom line is, it's part of our practice. It's part of teacher, student, teacher, student, teacher, student, student, starting with the Buddha and working there all the way down to Bobby. So it's something that I want to change. And interestingly enough, the last topic, artificial intelligence, has helped me with that. It helped me realize certain things. One of the projects that I'm working on is we have this book of Dharma room readings that Hyang put together a long time ago, a couple of years ago. And the pages have fallen out and all of that stuff. And, I decided, hey, we should have additional ones. So Hyang and I are working on additional volumes. And they're just these little short snippets of things, that we read before a sitting or after a sitting. We used to do it after the second sitting period on Wednesday night. We moved it to before the sitting period of my time. And they're just short little things. Practicing means you don't use your consciousness, you let it rest, and so on and so forth. So it's a short sitting reading period before practice. So as part of compiling these additional Dharma room readings, I've been going through a lot of the material that we have at the school. The Quantum School of Zen online has a list of like 60, 70 lists of the teachers with their varying teaching practices. I go through there and I take out snippets and I add them to the new document. I've been going through these hard-coded things up in Zen Master Seong Song's memorial room. They're basically letters between a student and Zen Master Seong Song. So I've been, going through those, just basically data mining for good things to put into the Dharma room readings. And where the artificial intelligence part of it comes in, just to back up just for a little bit, and the reason I brought it up because I did a Dharma talk. The last time I did a Dharma talk, Bobby was here, and I mentioned artificial intelligence. It was when ChatGPT first came out. Everyone was all in a panic. Life's going to end. AI is going to take over. Blah 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 blah. And part of that is true. It turns out AI uses neural network technology to train itself. Neural network technology is how our brains operate. Well, how our brains operate, and now you have a machine using the same methodology, well, it's starting to become prejudiced. It's starting to become racist, biased, etc.
Depressed, I heard.
Depressed. It hallucinates, and so forth. But that's if you consider it like a big blob that says artificial intelligence. Well, and that's true. That's all true, and they're trying to figure out how to get around it. But it's also a good lesson in how our minds operate. If a machine can have human type emotional things, it's because they're modeling it on the brain. And we all know that stuff up there is, easily fooled and has, biases. It has dualistic thinking, good, bad, him, her, Republican, Democrat, I'm right, you're wrong, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, artificial intelligence has these, problems. However, and I thought in my case it was going to kill my job. All right, so at work, we decided I work in tech support. We decided, gee, what does a tech support person do? A tech support person takes a customer's questions and then searches all of our existing documentation, our examples and all that stuff, takes that information, compiles it down to some concise little response to a customer, and sends it off to the customer. Well, AI does that really good. What would take me 2 days to figure out takes AI 2 seconds. So we have a large language model at our company. We fed it all the documentation that we have, our tech tips, our app notes, and all that stuff. And we have people assigned to it, correcting responses that are delusional and so forth. And it turned out to be awesome. It's not only helping me in my job, I no longer have to search through manuals for simple answers, because the customer actually does that now themselves. The type of questions we get now are much more difficult questions that our AI model couldn't answer. So now I'm going from being like a tech support person to more of an applications engineer, services type person. So I didn't lose my job because of AI that I was so worried about. So in that respect, it's really, really kind of good. Now, how does it relate kind of to the practice? As I mentioned, I'm compiling this book of Dharma readings. And I'm going through and I'm looking for material. What I decided to do is kind of embrace the AI stuff. And I'm using Google's Notebook LM, which has the Gemini artificial intelligence agent backing up. And everything I find from our teaching, I put into Notebook LM. Notebook LM is an artificial intelligence engine, and if you ask it questions, it'll only answer the questions in the context of the information that you explicitly give it. So I gave it not all, as I'm developing these books, I am putting it in Notebook LM. So it's all of Zen Master Seong Sung's teachings I'm putting in there. And, every Zen master and all of our Jita Popesanines, as I come across materials, I put it into the AI engine, kind of like creating a virtual Zen Master Seong Song, so to speak. But more importantly, I did that only because of the fact that when I ask it questions, I want it to come from our teaching, not from ChatGPT. ChatGPT will do it for the entire world. Every Zen master you can think of. This database this artificial engine that I'm creating will just be from our teachings. And how do I use that? Mostly I use it just to generate titles for the individual teaching pieces. If you look at this book, there is a saying, but there's no title. With a title, I can create a table of contents so that up front you can kind of go down them and, if you ever want to find them again, you can find them. Now, the question is, when I first started doing that, I said, what can I use as a title? If it's a specific teacher's reading, Bobby has a little snippet that says, blah, whatever, and her name down the bottom. But what should the title be? Well, the title should be something from Bobby. I should call, contact Bobby and, what's this? But no, I've been putting it into the Notebook LM and generating an appropriate title, or at least what I think is appropriate title, or at least what Google thinks is an appropriate title, so that I can create a table of contents. So that's how I've been using our AI. So I've been compiling Quantum and Providence Zen Center teaching information to generate an additional Dharma reading book, but I've been using it to create the titles. And the titles are not from a person. They're from AI. And I think they're pretty good. As part of doing this, I got a chance to read a lot of people's, read a lot of people's teachings. So instead of just reading a little snippet from this, I get to read a whole article, say from Bobby, for example, on our original strength and compassion. I get to read the whole article, and it's just teaching me that I really, really need to just be with a teacher now and then. I need to go on retreats. I need to have Kongan interviews. So AI in that respect, like it's doing in my job, is helping me. So I'm not afraid of it. And I kind of want to wrap things up because I think I'm over time. You can't use AI to replace a teacher. And I handed out these sheets here. And one of the teaching practices on the original wording in it is as killing illusions, the path to emancipation. Followers of the way, Chan, which is Zen, Chinese Zen, if you want to get the kind of understanding that accords with Dharma, never be misled by others. And then I have it highlighted. Whether you're facing inward or facing outward, whenever you meet up with it, just kill it. If you meet the Buddha, kill the Buddha. If you meet a patriarch, kill the patriarch. If you meet your parents, kill your parents. Probably something that the Mendez brothers are regretting at this point in time, but that paragraph is like, when I read it, I'm like, what does that mean? Now, if you have a teacher, great. And our teacher is available. You can send an email to guidingteachers@providencezen.org. Or you can go to our Quantum School of Zen online and ask a sheet of Pope's name. So you should go and ask a teacher. However, in my case, I just asked the database, the knowledge base that I'm putting together, and it replaced the kill part with whatever beliefs, authorities, concepts you encounter, question them deeply and dismantle their hold on you. If you encounter an idealized figure, challenge it. If you meet a revered teacher, question them, and so on and so forth. So I took the opportunity to say, what would ChatGPT, not ChatGPT, but what would Google's Notebook LM replace the killing part with? And that's what it did. So I'm not saying that should replace a teacher, but if you see kind of these abstract quotes like that, they have teaching embedded into them. There's something for you to learn from them. And if you have access to a teacher, great. In my case, I'm kind of trying to do that project quickly, so we have n number of them to replace what we have that's falling apart. So period, I guess. How does that teach me? Well, it teaches me by I'm reading a bunch of information that I would not have normally read, and I'm picking up a lot of the teaching, not just the teaching phrases, I'm picking up a lot of the meanings of the teaching, and I'm finding that's helping me become a better student. Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't laughed like that for a while.
Oh, I got several more books here I'm supposed to read from. No.
Oh, look at all of this stuff.
No. It's organized. I got nothing here. Oh, no. Are there any questions? Well, I'll mention regret then, since you,
Yeah.
I think you asked me to do that, actually. The only way you can regret something is by seeing it, like noticing something. And so that means regret is a positive thing, because you went, oh. You were actually asking, how did that go? Not evaluating how it went, but just you felt something like, huh. And so that could become in the form of a regret. That's because you looked into, you went, what did I say? And then what we follow with this, you've heard it a million times, but you ask, what did I say then? Not, oh, I said this. No. Don't go to AI. I mean, that's not that can't be helpful, but it's like, listen to don't know, listen to the universe. Don't know means listening. So what did I say? This is where your true intuition comes from from listening. And it comes from the bottom up, from your gut. So how do we find our gut? So for a second, just, this is loud. Do what I'm doing, okay? Hit below your belly button with your two fists. Ha! 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 Good. So just feel, that doesn't even hurt, you know, it feels good. It's like, I had two brothers, and I used to say to them, go ahead and hit me, go ahead and hit me. I was a tomboy, and boom, you know, and like they would know to hit below the belly button. It doesn't hurt down there. You don't want to get hit up here. That hurts. Boom. You have to respond to it. And then you begin to, we call it believe in yourself, in a sense. You believe in this moment. Like, huh. So what was that? That comes from here. And then you're truly just listening. And you can intuit. You can intuit it. You can learn. So there's people that have, what shall I say, dissolved their karmic hindrances by just listening. And they didn't have a teacher. They didn't have a form. They didn't know about a religion. They just reached that place where they felt the stream. They felt the stream of clarity. And it's there, you know, and the universe gives it to us. We don't know this universe. We don't know we don't know much. As a cognitive human being, there's so much we don't understand about the universe. But obviously there is one. I learned when I was little that infinite time, infinite space, what infinity meant, and then where does the space begin, where does it end? Where does time begin, where does it end? No idea. But then what gives us that question, what am I? What am I doing in the speck of dust in the middle of the space? You know, what's going on in this space? What am I? Why was I born? What's the point? And that's probably why AI gets a little depressed. We don't know the point. We don't know. So that comes out in the computers. We're confused. So there's a wonderful story. Buddhism uses hyperbole. They make these exaggerated scenarios and make humans larger than life. And so the Buddha was larger than life in a sense because it talks about all the things that he understood. There's sutras written about what the Buddha said, and I don't think all of it came from one person. But it's out there. This wisdom that people got from practicing. And so this particular story reports that Buddha had one of his students whose name was Manjushri, and Manjushri was the image of someone who could do magic, who had broken through with the resistance of gravity and time and space, and so could manifest things. And so he came to the Buddha once because he was very familiar with this nearby area, and he said, they're going to have a war. These two, they're fighting. These people are fighting. We got to stop it because just hundreds and hundreds of people are going to be killed. And Buddha said, you can't change earned karma. You can't change it. But Manjushri said, I'm not going to let all these people suffer. So because he had these magic powers, he took this area of dispute. The ones that were going to be victimized, the ones that were really kind of innocent, he was going to take those people and put them in a teacup, just shrink them down so they'd all fit in this teacup. And he brought them up to like 33rd heaven. Like, where's the 33rd heaven? But it's kind of a cool image, like not just the first heaven, way up, way beyond any harm or fear or trouble. So he brought him up there, and then waited for things to kind of settle down in that area, and then he brought them back. Well, they were all dead, because they started fighting with each other while they were in the cup, and they killed each other. So, like the Buddha said, say, I told you so. We can't fix someone else's confusion. We can't. We can't save people in that way. So, and if you know anything about AA, that's one of the things, organizations I really respect. And, they say that. You can't, like, or Al-Anon, if you go to Al-Anon because you have a problem with a drinking relative, you can't make them stop drinking. You can't do that. And it's a good thing to learn because people get exhausted trying to fix other people's problems. It's not that you can't try to help and ask if they need help and intuit from here, down here, what can I do to maybe help guide this person? But you can't change them. So who's going to change them but just themselves? And that's what's so important about this Zen practice, is that nobody can help us but our own question, we have this idea of ourself, our little self, and where we were born, and what our name is, and what we like, what we don't like, who we love, who we don't love, and what we're going to do with our life. But that's just going to end after 80, 90 years. So that's over. It's not a very long time. So what's the point? Again, what's the point of rushing around for 90 years and then you die? And so our job in the, like up there in Kyelche, I like coming down here after I've been there for a week, because you see the job really clearly. And we have total silence. I've been very strict about keeping silence. Like, there's no talking except, like, how, in the kitchen, you might have to ask how large do you want the carrot, what size do you want the carrots cut up in? Some simple whispered thing like that. Just functional talking during work period. Otherwise, everybody is just keeping silent. And I said, it's good to gaze down. Don't make eye contact. Just stick to the moment without checking out somebody else. How are they doing? Just take care of yourself. And they can go to the head Dharma teacher. They can go to me if they're having an issue. So people have been listening last week, and this week's even has more seasoned students. But both weeks have been so disciplined and so nice. I really like it when people just follow the rules that way, because it's just, then it's up to you. It's totally up to you what goes on. You don't have to think about somebody else. You're just trying to gaze at the floor and return to the moment, return to the moment. So this Kongan practice is something that you already have kongans. You question, you regret. You have these questions. These things that are written down that we use in the Kongan books are just clever. It's not a riddle, but it's very clever how they'll twist something in a sentence and then ask you like the wrong question about it. Even though it's very, very clever. So you ask, and then you just ask. The students' first thing they're taught is just to hit the floor or just clap, just make zero. So you don't have to answer the question, right? You just have to hear the question. Then, and see what comes up for an answer. If nothing comes up, you just simply don't know, and I'll work on it. And so it's no shame, no blame, no lecture. Why couldn't you do it this time? Nothing like that. It's just like, then see what appears if you just. Because it does bring you to this questioning thing about not knowing. Like, what is the answer to that? And I always used to tell myself, to encourage myself, or I still do that. It's like, well, other people have figured it out. So it's possible. There is an answer. That's an agreed upon answer. What is that? Don't know. So I think the reason why it's better than a complicated math question or a complicated life situation is because it's very neutral. It's not personal. It's just look at that and what do you see? So and you have as Gary said, to have a relationship. I always ask people, do you have a guiding teacher? Who is your guiding teacher? Half the time, not half, but many times people say, I don't have a guiding teacher. Well, then if you care enough about this, and you want to, mature your practice, pick someone. There's so many in the quantum school, and ask them. It's much more helpful if it's a local teacher. Can you help me with my practice? And then you develop some, just a guide. So we can't do this by ourselves. That's why Gary mentioned sangha. How important sangha is. It's the most difficult thing, sangha, and it's the best thing. Because we end up, the dirty potatoes, we have different opinions, different likes, dislikes, and so we'll disagree about how to do this, how to do that. But if we just take the patience and the time, then we can, and we can meet minds. And that's very good work to do that. So, any questions now? It would help me a lot, yeah. Yes. Hi, Shami.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you both for your talk. My question is about Kongans, because I struggle with them too. And I'm wondering, what if the only thing that comes up during Kongan practice is don't know, and then you have don't know for 10, 20 years?
You're lucky if that happens. Yeah.
What if I just
It's not,
never...
I don't know, it's only don't know. So that's your teacher.
But isn't the point of the Kongans to find an answer?
Well, you will at some point. But it's bringing you to that place where you're not thinking. That's the place. It's rich. It's a beautiful area where you're just not thinking. Like, oh. Then you have clear thinking. You might, I forgot to feed my daughter, or something. It'll appear. Tomorrow's my mother's birthday. From that not knowing, your clear mind will say, hey, what are you doing right now? And then you get into a clearer gear from the not knowing. You realize how many times we just make these mini mistakes, like forget our mother's birthday, for example. And that's not a good thing to do. So you could just be, but you're so distracted, you got an issue with her or whatever, but you're not. It's not coming up that wouldn't be a good thing to forget. But then you try a koan practice, or you ask even on your own when you're alone, like, what is that? Don't know. Oh, tomorrow's my mother's birthday. That because you're spacious. Because you're available, the universe is knocking on your door. Yoo-hoo! So don't be attached to answering the koan. It gives the gratitude to the koan giving you that not knowing space. That's the most important thing. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. If you want to answer, then you have a problem. Why? It'll appear eventually. Or you don't believe that your thing's going to appear?
Give it a couple of decades.
Maybe I'm attached to answering.
Yeah, I think you are. Forget about that. Just love the don't know that it gives you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Hey, this is John.
Hi, John.
Hi. Some time ago, I used to do a lot of koan practice with you. And at that time, at one point, you mentioned to me that you were working on a koan, and at that time, that was very powerful teaching. I think sometimes people in the school have this idea that when a person becomes a Zen master, they're no longer practicing koan practices. Is this still an accurate description of your practice?
Well, the accurate description of my practice is there's so much more not to know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how the universe works. That's like, how do we get here? And will we survive? I've been going through a lot of pain. I think many of us have, but I got two things. The environment and then our present government is just like huge for me. And how do I help? What is my job? So it starts, I've been really using it, so you don't always, some koans are so big that you don't always answer them. There's more than one layer to the answer. But just few weeks ago, well, it's probably a couple of months ago, Mary and I get yogurt once in a while, and a couple of quarts a month probably or something. And I went, you can't recycle the yogurt containers. That's not the type of plastic that gets recycled. So I'm putting it in the garbage, and every time it's like, oh, because I'm trying to help the environment. I don't want to add to the plastic waste. This is my personal koan. I'm not giving you a lecture about you using plastic, but for me, that's one of my kongans. So, I went to the store. I bought a small amount of really high-class yogurt in a glass jar. And believe me, where I live in the Bay Area, this high-class stuff. You can get the highest class yogurt. And so, I brought it home, and I made my own yogurt, and I put it in a plastic tub, which I reuse. It's just very good in the fridge in that container. So it's a little teeny thing. There's 2 more yogurt things that aren't going in the garbage in my area every month. That adds up, so it's so minute, but I mention it because that's how we have to start. From here, what can I do? How can I help? I'm just cringing when I'm putting this in the garbage. I go, well, that's something you could do. Duh. So that's how important these little things are. These little things. And then the big question of how does this universe work? What are we doing here? I gave a talk last Sunday up there. I started crying. I was just so upset. Yeah, Sanim witnessed it. I started crying about just what's going on, and so that's something that I haven't seen John for quite a while. I'm so glad to see you, John. By the way, thank you, and thank you for your question. Yeah. But since I saw you, it's just. All these years I've thought, well, if you're practicing, doing kyolches, doing all that. I go to a lot of retreats, really a lot. And I go, well, I should understand this in a more wise way and not start crying over it, Then I realized, this is my sangha. This is my sangha on this earth. And it's try to put it in a teacup and save it. No, it's not gonna work. So it's really, really sad. And I go, again, I was walking across my backyard after practice in the morning. As I practice over in a cottage we have in our backyard, and I was just walking back to the house, and I went, that's normal to be sad. What do you think you're gonna get above that? There's no above it. There's no above it. You've got to. So we talk about, the Bodhisattva Manju Avalokiteshvara Kwanseum Bosal. We talk about, the great love, great sadness. And I don't know why before I only figured this out a couple of years ago about the sadness thing. It's okay to be sad. It's normal. You're in a sad situation, so you're going to cry, and you're not beyond that, above that, And so that's the thing, great love, great sadness. I don't know if that's an AI, but it's a brilliant, that's what it boils down to. Really it boils down to that. And the love part is so important. It's so important I sound like an old hippie, which I am, but it's all about love. It's all about love. And the more you love, the more sad you're going to be when something suffers. It's just the way it is. So, I personally have 2 young granddaughters, and that's when I start crying. I could cry because what are they facing? What is their, when they're only, the oldest one's 12. What's gonna look like? What's gonna look like when she's 24? I don't know, but it's we can just try to use a little bit less plastic, and see what else is going on that's clever, and that's how it just drop by drop by drop by drop. that we can save this world. And I don't know about saving this earth, but we have to keep that vow lifetime after lifetime, try to do it. And that's infinite. That's infinite practice. So our teacher, Zen Master Seong came from Korea, so he was also a shaman. He wasn't a shaman, but he grew up with shamanistic practices that's still going on in Korea. There's Confucian, there's all kinds of things that are ancient that came through China, through India, into Korea, and these ancient things are one of the things that carried over from those practices is a kind of a trust or a sense of reincarnating, that the consciousness is infinite in time, infinite space. So we each are sharing the same consciousness, each of us. We just have a different bundle of lessons we need to learn, but we all are one, really. And so this consciousness, if you develop it in your body for the 90 years, and you ask, how can I help? What am I? You learn to connect with the mundaneness of a floor, minute after minute after minute in a retreat. It's not so mundane. You're in this moment, and it's always teaching you. So you take that, and so you expire the vehicle that you use, the used car. This is like a rented car, our body. That doesn't last. But the vow and the direction, the sense of how can I help, that's what, in Asia, and I also completely embrace this, that I can carry that on, that vow and direction, into my next life, whatever that. Nobody figured out transformation of consciousness intellectually. People don't understand it. People always just like their grandmother dies or their mother dies, like, oh, send me a message. Like, where'd you go? But most of the time, we don't get any message. We just why would they want to come back here? Who knows? But it's like, we don't know about that. We don't know where grandma went, I have no idea. And nobody else does either. Nobody knows. So, but we could trust that we can take our vow, we can take our direction, we can take the work we did on this earth and carry it over somehow. So why not? Why not trust that? So, any other questions?
Yeah, so I just got back from a spring break trip to Mexico with my 2 roommates. And when I travel, I can get pretty anxious about missing flights. And so I typically like to arrive to the airport a couple hours early. But my 2 roommates, let's say they're more free-spirited than that. They like to live in the moment and sort of get the most out of every experience that they can. And so on the flight there, we ended up catching the flight, if we had been 3 minutes later than we would have missed the flight. And I was very anxious about that. And they saw that I was anxious, and they apologized, and they said, we can work on this, and we'll be more considerate, and we'll try to be earlier next time. And then I really got the sense that they cared about how I was feeling and that they wanted to do better. And then on the flight back, when we agreed upon heading out to the airport, they were caught up in some club. So
They were in a club?
They were in a club. And so in that moment, I kind of felt betrayed and disappointed. And I guess I kind of got the sense that these guys are my roommates, and I get the sense that this kind of mindset is just part of who they are. And so I was wondering if Zen says anything about like how intrinsic these different like personality traits are, and like if even if like they want to like change how they act, like is there a sense in which it's just an intrinsic part of who they are and like something that they can't change? And also like if Zen says anything about coming to accept how some people might have just like a different way about going about their life than you do.
Okay, good. Well, you don't need to accept anything. You know, you need to embrace things. Accepting is, it's like if you have a baby, you're not a girl, but if you have a baby, they take it, you know, and they usually clean it up a little bit, wrap it in a blanket, and they say to the mother, they don't say anything to the mother. The mother's ready to embrace it. They don't say, "Do you accept this baby?" Right? Never. So accept is kind of a negative thing. It's like, so embrace it. So you have friends, and they're different from you. They have different karma. That doesn't mean will they ever change. That's none of your business. Will you change your karma? That's the most important thing, and not change that you're anxious about flights, but change about believing in yourself. Like, well, even though they said they do it, it's not personal. It's not a personal thing. They don't like you enough to remember that they promised you. It's not. Nothing's personal because there is no real personal. You have this thing. Then you need to believe in yourself. So you just go to the airport, you know, because that's going to trust yourself. Like, I need to go to the airport. That's my worst. I think my neurotic thing is, I get there at least 2 hours early. I just hate it. It's something really internally. I look at that, but it doesn't go away. So I just get there early. So take care of yourself. Like, that's the best thing. You can sit down if you want. Yeah. Are you? Yeah. But how do we say that there is no self, but we also say believe in yourself? It's not really two different things. The self is calling, the little self is like calling out, you know, and your true self, the part that you want to truly believe in is what I talked about with don't know accesses. Like, oh, tomorrow's my mother's birthday. That part, like, so you go, oh, I don't want to miss that plane. You know, your little self is like, and your bottom thing goes, yeah, go there early. Get there. Don't worry about them. That's their, you know, if what are they? They're kind of probably depending on you to drag them out of the club. That's called codependency, you know. I think a lot of people know about codependency. Is you're not helping someone by being codependent. You know, they've got to believe in themselves. Maybe missing a plane will be actually a good thing for them. You know, it's going to cost them a few $100 and it's going to be inconvenient. And then they begin to get the message about, oh, that's why people get there early, you know. Seriously. So you have to also let people make their mistakes so that they learn. And it's not like you calculate that, but you do that by believing in yourself and getting there on time and taking care of your anxiety. So I don't know if that answered all your questions. But this believe in yourself is very, very important. Like, things are just calling out to us, you know, from here. And just take a moment, pause, listen to that. And I often use the word, you lean into certain things. You just feel like you're leaning in. And then you follow that. What even your body, your cellular nerves, they know what's going on. So they'll lean you into a certain thing. And then my teacher, I thought it was brilliant. He used to say, well, if you can't decide, flip a coin and believe the coin. You know? Because, then do one of them. Just do it. Just do one of them. And that really works, too. It's like, and then you might say, you don't like what the coin said. No, I wish it had gone to this. Then do that one. You know, if it's down there, maybe you really knew what you wanted the coin to say. You know, somewhere in there, if you're disappointed with what the coin said, then, it's the other one. So it's very, very nice to trust and believe in yourself and listen to yourself. So what I said to Shami about that not knowing is It's not about the answer to the Kongan. It's where the Kongan leads you with your question. You know, and you might answer 1,000 Kongans and not answer that one. Just life koans by not knowing. You know. So, thank you. I think it's time. Is it? Yeah.
Thank you both for your wonderful talks. And the big announcement is that next weekend is Buddha's birthday weekend. So we will have a Buddha's birthday ceremony and a precept ceremony on Saturday. We will have literally 3 book signings of Composting Our Karma. We will have chanting, I think a sing-along, I'm not sure what that will entail, and also conscious dance. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Please join us. You can register at Quantum Zen Americas, or actually you can find it on our website as well. The gift shop will be open. Join us for some refreshments, and I will see you next time.